Welcome back. In the days since Hamas terrorists stormed into Israel earlier this month, a flood of videos and photos and misinformation on what happened have filled social media, making it difficult for people from around the world to sort out what is the truth. Mandana Dayani, an activist and the co-founder of the nonpartisan organization I Am a Voter, addressed that major issue and more in an Instagram post that has now been viewed tens of millions of times.
I was born in Iran under the same regime that is supporting Hamas right now. And every single morning we were forced to chant death to America, death to Israel. And it's almost like shocking to watch these Americans support an organization that wants them dead and hates every single thing about their values. You sit there and repost terrorist propaganda and somehow think that that makes you an activist or someone with some sort of deranged liberal values. You're going to rallies in Montreal, New York, Paris, and London and celebrating the death of hundreds and hundreds of Jews that were slaughtered on a religious holiday in their sleep. You think this is liberal? You think this is liberation? You think this is resistance? Where is your humanity? What is happening here?
As a child, Mandana fled Iran with her Persian Jewish family before being granted asylum as a refugee in the United States. And she joins us now. I should point out that that video on your channel was viewed 15 million times. It was shared. It has been viewed ultimately in its totality up to 50 million times. You really struck a chord. What prompted you to just put it all out there and go there and say that?
I woke up on October 7th and saw the worst atrocity I've seen since 9/11. And I didn't really know how to process it. It was so painful. And then I went on my social media and, I'm an activist. I've worked shoulder to shoulder with so many people in Congress and universities, activists, and they were either silent or they were starting to side with Hamas, or they were starting to blame the Jews or their government for the terrorism. And that's just not something that we do. We don't blame victims for terrorism. And I couldn't understand this whole oh, it's because of this, it's because of this land dispute. There's no reason that ever makes that okay. And we didn't get a day to be upset. I mean, there were hostages. We were finding out information about beheadings and mass rapes. And instead of mourning, instead of checking on our families, we had to go on the internet and defend our dignity from misinformation. And I have never seen that happen before. And it does feel like that happens when Jews die. And when you see the Hamas doctrine, which explicitly says it calls to obliterate Israel and kill Jews, I cannot understand how people would defend a terrorist organization.
Yeah, you've read it. You got a lot of response to this. A lot of people reaching out to you. You've been busy ever since you put this out there. Donnie, I saw you nodding your head to a lot of what Mandana had to say.
God bless you, Mandana. I mean, that what you're saying, which seems so revolutionary, should be matter of fact and good for you. And as you said, we're only 19 days from 1,400 Israelis being slaughtered, massacred, beheaded, raped. And, just if I go backwards a little bit in the past, and I think of images of a young woman holding up a sign that says, clean the world from Jews, ethnic cleansing, and a group of young Jewish students huddled in a library, afraid as a mob is pounding anti-Semitic chanting outside. When I think about the past, that's not Berlin in 1939. That was yesterday in New York City, in the Bronx, on Cooper Union campus. And people need to remember Israel is not fighting the Palestinians. They're fighting Hamas, a terrorist, Nazi-like, ISIS-like organization. We can't forget that.
Tell us about the response you've got, and if you want to respond to what Donnie had to say, and also what your call to action is from your perspective.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I was born in Iran, right? I was Iranian. I looked Iranian. My family had lived there for thousands of years. And then one day, the Islamic regime takes over, and I'm a Jew, and I have to flee my homeland. And that has happened to hundreds of thousands of Jews that were in diaspora throughout the Middle East that have been forced out. And so I don't think people understand what Israel means to us because we had nowhere to go. I believe that my safety and security is inextricably linked to Israel, and that if Israel didn't exist tomorrow, I literally despite living in Los Angeles, think that I would die. And the only reason I believe another Holocaust wouldn't happen is because we finally have a nation to protect us. So watching people call, from the river to the sea, I mean, that is actually calling for Israel to be removed from the map. And I don't know that people understand what they're saying. And I don't think they understand the magnitude of these words. And so while we're seeing what's happening on the ground, I do believe that there's a propaganda war that's being conducted online. And anti-Semitism is growing at alarming rates. I feel it every single day. I'm not kidding you when I say I have to change my name in my Uber. We have to take down our mezuzah. Our synagogues are closed. There was violence in our neighborhood. My daughter had a swastika in her school. I mean, this is real. And I know Islamophobia is going up. And what people are saying online has consequences. And I am asking everyone to please watch their words. You can't, when you say these words, genocide, apartheid, colonization, all incorrectly used and all inaccurate, have real life consequences for people. We are actually terrified. I'm I can't explain to you the fear of Jews around the world right now. And the rate of anti-Semitism that is climbing has very real consequences for people that have inherited thousands of years of generational trauma.
It's grown fourfold since the slaughter of Jews. The anti-Semitism has grown fourfold in this country.
And part of the shock, I think, is to see these massive crowds in the streets of American cities and European capitals, as you described in your video, and just so comfortable and explicitly holding up signs with swastikas and spouting anti-Semitism. The college campuses here, that's been really disheartening. You think the leadership, those would be places of leadership. Sure, there can be dissent. Of course, there's free speech. But when you're explicitly talking about terrorists and celebrating the death, the grisly death of people being lit on fire and all the other details we now know, how do you explain, maybe not the kids on campus, but the leadership of those schools not saying clearly and unequivocally that, of course, we condemn this and we do not respect their right. We respect their right of free speech. We don't respect their right to harass Jewish students on campus.
I mean, I think it's a very deep-rooted anti-Semitism. I think that, watching Jews get eviscerated for thousands of years, there is a comfort with Jews as the victims of hate and of murder. And I don't know that they understand. I think there's, people buy into so many tropes and they're not even conscious of the anti-Semitism that's deep-rooted in them. And so they have these justifications like, oh, Jews will be fine. They're rich. They control the media. There's all these things that are obviously not true. By the way, the Germans said those before the Holocaust. And they use that to justify this inhumanity and inability to show compassion. I literally don't understand how after that massacre, anyone said anything other than, oh my God, this is horrible. And now it's like, oh, it's a free-for-all to come up with all the reasons why everyone's upset with Jews and to blame them for all the things. And again, this is just not stuff that we do. And I don't understand the silence around it. It is alarming to see people not call this out because we've seen how this ended before.
Good for you.
We appreciate your speaking out. We'll have you back to talk about your organization. You're co-founder of I Am a Voter, and we'll be having you back a lot to talk about that in the lead up to the elections. Mandana Dayani, thank you.
Thank you so
very
much.
much.